Let the church say amen. Will you say it again? God made me. And he made me who I am. And we give him the praise because he is worthy of our praise. It's always a joy and a pleasure to see the Reverend Dr. Barbara McGill and her distinguished husband, Brother Hank McGill, and the Reverend Esther Johnson and her distinguished husband, Brother Colson Johnson. God bless you. All ministers and spouses and for lack of a better expression, all the children of St. Paul. Amen. God bless you. This morning, we want to thank the Lord for this new generation gospel choir. God bless you. Under the direction of Brother Marvin and these great musicians, God bless you. It's always just a wonderful, uplifting experience always to hear them. Now, I'm going to invite your attention today to Mark, the 15th chapter, verses 19 and 20. Mark 15, verses 19 and 20. Where these words have been written for our prayerful considerations. 5th chapter of the Gospel recorded by St. Mark, the 19th and 20th verse. Hear ye the word. Howbeit Jesus suffered him not, but saith unto him, Go home to thy friends, and tell them how great things the Lord hath done for thee, and hath had compassion on thee. And he departed, and began to publish in Decapolis how great things Jesus had done for him, and all men did marvel. I want to use for a subject this morning, I don't look like what I've been through. Life sometimes feels like a card game playing a bad hand. I know none of you all play cards, so I'm sure I'm not talking to any of you this morning. It's inevitable that when you play the game of life, you'll occasionally be dealt a bad hand. But as any real winner knows, your experience of life will come down to how you play the hand that you are dealt. Poker players sometimes emerge victorious even when they have terrible cards because of their ability to maintain their composure and puzzle the pieces of the game together. Now you know that, Reverend, because I watched the Poker Channel on TV like the rest of you. Life is like a card game. Problems will always be a part of the human condition. But handled the right way, our biggest problems end up being the biggest blessings in disguise. My God and your God specializes in bringing each of us deliverance from the burdens of life. God is our strength in weakness. God knows what we can bear. And sometimes God gives us more than we can bear so that we can learn to rely on Him and Him alone. God knows what He's doing. And sometimes our burdens are too heavy for us, but never too heavy for God. I came to remind you today, there is nothing too hard for God. And when we sometimes suffer, we should learn there is always a way out. And His name is Jesus. And when we see others suffering, we should not tell them, oh, you just need to be strong, or attempt to explain to them why their prayers are not getting through. They are just as human as you are. They have a right to cry. They have a right that in the midst of their tears to know that there is always a way out. So for each of us and each of our circumstances, our weeping may endure for the night, but always joy will come in the morning. Each of us have experienced some trying times in our lives, but the Lord has kept us in His pavilion and has placed His shield of protection before us. And the ultimate testimony you can tell all the world is, no matter how bad it is, or no matter how bad it has been, I don't look anything like what I've been through. Just look at y'all this morning. Y'all look good up in here. But I bet you from Monday through Saturday, we all have some stuff going on. Oh, you know I'm telling the truth. We've had some things we've had to deal with, and some folk we've had to put up with. We had some folk huffing and puffing, trying to blow our houses down. We've had folk who plotted and planned, and the devil created scenario after scenario, trying to tear our lives apart. Some of us have cried and worried and walked the floors at night and worried our spouses and talked until we were blue in the face and sometimes couldn't eat or sleep, sometimes worrying about what would the morning bring and how are we going to survive this week, and dragged ourselves to work and went through drudgery and had to cuss a few folk out and pulled our hair out and said some things we didn't really mean to say, but felt for the moment we needed to say it just to put somebody back in their lane, and thought that life had dealt us a bad blow and things were just ugly and hurtful and harmful. And early this morning we got up. I said we got up. We got up. We got up and came to the house of the Lord, put on our suits and our ties, our dresses and perfumes and our shoes, and got all fitted up. And look at you. You don't look like nothing of what you've been through. Because God is still in charge. Oh, hallelujah, somebody. Hallelujah, somebody. Hallelujah, somebody. And I bet you right now, if you would look at your neighbor and ask them how they're doing, they ain't gonna tell you Monday they tried to take me down. They ain't gonna say Tuesday they tried to wear me out, or Wednesday I almost didn't make it, or Thursday they thrashed me about, or Friday somebody was fooling me, or Saturday somebody was setting me up. They'll look back at you and say, praise the Lord, God is good. I'm glad to be in the number one more time. Because you don't look like nothing you've been through. This man in the cemetery, living a hellish life. He had gone through so much that he felt like an orphan, left out in the graveyard, abandoned by the anger of a hostile society. He'd been through a lot, and when Jesus showed up, he restored him back to his right standing and frame of mind. But what happened to him? He was isolated from community. Isolated because folk didn't want to bother with him. Isolated because folk were afraid of him. Isolated because folk didn't want to wind up crazy like he was. Isolated because they didn't want the same problems that he had. Isolated because folk refused to be his friend. Let me tell you what a good friend is. A good friend is like a tube of toothpaste. No matter what, every day you're going to squeeze it. Huh? And use it till things get better. So you ought to get you some friends like toothpaste who gonna stick with you when you are being squeezed every day. You know, you get trouble, your friends become fewer and fewer. They get fewer and fewer and say, I'll call you later. I'll call you tomorrow. But somebody wrote a song about tomorrow. Tomorrow never comes. You need somebody who's going to be with you in good times and bad times. And I'm so glad this morning that Jesus sticks closer than a brother. I'm so glad that he stays with me and talks with me in the good times and the bad times. Isn't it good to know that when you're up, he's right there. When you're down, he's right there. When you got a little money in your pocket, he's right there. When you ain't got nothing, he's right there. When you need a friend, you've got a friend in Jesus. He's always like that toothpaste. You can squeeze it and he'll be right there to stick with you. Listen. Nobody wanted to be in his presence. They were so concerned about isolating him till they put him in chains, locked him up so that he wouldn't bother anybody, left him in the cemetery, chained and bound and fettered so that he would not be in anyone's presence. So what did you have? You had a crazy man who lived in a crazy world, who was living in a mad house of humanity, who was locked up because other humanity isolated him. But I want you to know that God never isolates us. He is always on our side. And I want you to know that there are times, like cemeteries, our lives reflect the same. Because life can get so hard, it can be filled with despair, it can be filled with disappointment, it will feel like a cemetery. That ain't nothing happening in our favor. And then sometimes we erect our own tombstones and write these things on them, like regret and betrayal and lost health and disillusionment But let me tell you, whatever your problem is, this too will pass. Because God will not let you stay in the cemetery of your circumstance. Well, that's evident. Because if you woke up today, he loosed you and set you free. If you're here right now, he loosed you and set you free. If you're here right now, that means he opened the door and set you free. So this crazy man that they isolated was so powerful and so strong and out of his mind that he broke the chains that were holding him. Now let me give you a sidebar. If God is on your side, there is no chain that can hold you. Say it again, Reverend. If God is on your side, there is no chain that can hold you. What you say, Reverend? If God is on your side, there is no chain that can hold you down. So if God is on your side, you need to get up in the name of Jesus and break that chain that's holding you down. Get up in the name of Jesus. Stand up in the name of Jesus. Hold on in the name of Jesus. Walk on in the name of Jesus. But don't let any chain hold you down, because God is on your side. God is on your side. God is on your side. Ain't no chain gonna hold me down. God is on my side. Well, he had no family. He had no friends. Nobody to look out for him. Just living in a crazy world. So listen. Jesus came by. And when Jesus shows up, he always shows out. When you call him, he's always there. You can call the folk who said, I'll be there, and never show up. But the Lord is with us. He is our refuge and our strength. The Bible says he is a present help in trouble. You see that word present? He's always there. In the good, in the bad, he's always there. When I'm smiling, he's always there. When I'm crying, he's always there. When I'm feeling good, he's always there. When I'm feeling bad, he's always there. When my enemies are against me, he's always there. When they're trying to destroy me, he's always there. When I'm about to lose my mind, up in here, he's always there. When I'm about to go for he's always there. When I feel like I've reached the end of my rope, he's always there. When it looks like the situation is hopeless, God is always there. Some of our lives are so messed up till we feel like we live in the twilight zone. There are some days like that. I can call the roll on some of mine. Some days I feel like I woke up in the twilight zone and got out of bed and fell into the X-Files. And then walked out of my door and faced some outer limits. And then met a few people that were difficult to deal with, and I called them like tales from the crypt. And then have to deal with some bad circumstances. And I said, Nightmare on Elm Street. But God has never left me alone. Because no matter what, when I get to the house of the Lord, everything will be all right. But not only when I get here, I know God is working it because he's keeping all of that from driving me crazy. That's how I know that God is always with us. Right now, we're sitting in here with problems in our lives, but God let us get here in spite of it. And we ought to give God praise. Listen, Jesus saw this man and looked at him, and immediately the demons that were in him recognized Jesus and bowed down to worship him. Now, demons, that's a lot. One demon, just one, has 6,000, because the man said his name was Legion. When Jesus asked him his name, he said, my name is Legion. That means he had 6,000 demons in him. Now, we can't stand having but one. That'll drive us crazy. What's your name? My name is Legion, for we are many. But Lord, don't kill us. Let us go into these swine over here. And they didn't have sense enough to know the Lord wasn't going to let them off the hook. So when they got into the swine, the Lord drove the swine off the hill and killed them and the swine too. Now, do you think the community was excited? Because Jesus killed all those demons? Looked like they had said, thank you, Lord, for killing all them devils. But they had their qualities all mixed up. Do you know what they were worried about? Some of the vendors, they were worried more about the pigs than the demons. I bet you some of them say, you see all that sausage? All that ham? You see that bacon? We done miscured that meat. That man that killed our finances. And rather than thanking the Lord for killing the demons, they wanted him to get out of town because he robbed them of all of that fat. Huh. And that's where we treat the Lord sometimes. God saves us in spite of us. And rather than realize what God has done for us by saving us, we start looking at what we lost in the process. This man had a Rolex, driving a Mercedes, and got hit sideways by an 18-wheeler. The 18-wheeler totaled the Mercedes, and when it hit, it jarred the man so badly that the Rolex popped off his arm. He got knocked out of the car and the car got knocked down an embankment. And they rushed to pull him and help him. And he went over to the edge and stood at the edge and broke down crying. And they asked him, "Why are you crying? You still alive." He said, "But man, I paid $80,000 for that Mercedes and a few $100s for that Rolex. You don't know what I went through to get all of that." And they looked at him and said, "Yeah, but if you had died, you wouldn't have known what you didn't have anymore." I hear folks saying, "Oh, my back hurts. My rheumatism hurts. Arthritis is killing me. I hurt, I'm aching, I'm feeling stuff I ain't never felt before. I'm just, the sun just ain't shining bright enough. It's just too hot. There ain't enough breeze, too much breeze, too cold. It ain't too right. It ain't this or that. These folk get on my nerves. Lord, I'm just sick and tired of being sick and tired. I'm tired of all this medicine. I'm tired of all I got. Lord, I'm just sick and tired of being tired." And they have forgotten while they're doing all that complaining, they still got eyes to see. They still got ears to hear. They still got a nose to smell. They still have the feel of touch. They still have their senses. They are in their right mind. And God even let them keep running their mouth, and they still complain. On with the story. When Jesus delivered the man, the Bible says he sat at the feet of Jesus, clothed and in his right mind. And he wanted to go with Jesus so he could tell others, but he wanted to be a witness so others could see him with Jesus as to what had happened to him. But Jesus said, "No, you need to go back home and tell folk about the good things the Lord has done for you. Tell the vendors who worried about the crackling." Crackling? Crackling, y'all. Skins. Tell those who worried about the chitlins and the hog heads and the hog ears. Tell them who worried about the money that they lost. Tell them what God did for you, and that's more important than anything else in their lives. For what he did for you, he'll do for them till you go back home and tell them what the Lord has done. And I came to tell you this morning, if you don't look like what you've been through, then somebody else needs to hear it. You need to go home. And home doesn't have to be the folk you kin to. It could be the place where you work. It could be in your neighborhood. It could be somebody that you know, somebody who needs the Lord in their lives. You need to be a witness as to what God has done for you in your life. And somebody needs to hear it. Listen, you need to be a witness. How many right now, by 1 o'clock today, are going to rush home and be witnesses to the Washington Redskins destroy the Dallas Cowboys? stop by the store. You're going to get a little something, something to eat. You know, you're going to get a little something, something to drink. You know, Kool-Aid and that way, a little something, something. You're going to pull up in front of a big screen and you're going to be all in color and high definition because you intend to be a witness as to what's going to take place. Your church life ought to be the same way. That God let you roll up through those doors this morning. That God gave you strength and the right frame of mind to get through these doors this morning. To be sitting in these pews, clothed in your right mind. That God gave you health and strength and open your eyes to get into God's house and to be able to enjoy God's blessing one more time. You ought to be a witness this morning. You ought to be a witness this morning. You ought to be a witness this morning as to the goodness of God and what God has done for you. And let me tell you, I don't know your story, but I know for me, I know I don't look like what I've been through, but I know He brought me through. And that's my testimony. He brought me through the fire and brought me through the flood. Yeah. Let me get up one more time. That's my testimony. Been good to me. That's my testimony. Opened another door. That's my testimony. Made a way out of no way. That's my testimony. Put food on my table. That's my testimony. Put clothes on my back. That's my testimony. Let me be in my right mind. That's my testimony. Bless my family. That's my testimony. Let me walk again. That's my testimony. Let me preach again. That's my testimony. I'm glad, so glad, so glad, so glad, so glad to be in the number one more time. Well, I'm going to my seat. But I just wanted to say to some witnesses, when God gets through with you, when God gets a hold of you, when God delivers you, when God sets you free, when God speaks to your condition, when God calls you by your name, when God changes your life, when God speaks peace to your soul, when God gave you another job, when God let you keep the one you got, when God is opening possibilities to get another, when you can look at your loved ones and be able to hold them in your arms, know that your babies are doing all right, and you know that you know that you know that you've been done up and shook loose by the power of God. I'm looking for some witnesses to go and tell somebody about the goodness of the Lord. Are you a witness? 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 Are you a witness?
ready.